I have the full background on this Karen. The Karenicity is unbelievable. Put up the picture. We got her name, where she works, her boss. I want to remind you of a couple of things that happened in this video. Obviously, it is telling, right? You know, she said, and I quote, "You are hurting my fetus, my unborn child." Did you all hear that part? She said that. Why did she say that? Because that bolsters her argument to do what she's attempting to do, which is theft under any other circumstance. We will call this attempted theft if the black male went up to the white female who paid for her opportunity to utilize the device and he decided to grab it and try to take it. We will call that clearly attempted theft.
What is going on, everybody? Wired here. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic Friday. And today we have to talk about the implosion of the Young Turks. Now, what we just saw was a clip of Rashad Richey here condemning the quote-unquote city bike Karen, Miss Sarah Jane Comrie, I believe her name was. And if you don't know about this, I haven't covered this before, but I've been following this story pretty closely. It's about a woman got off of work, a nurse, went to go rent a city bike, which is a bike for rent in New York City. And it was pretty much being gatekept by a couple teenagers. And the narrative kind of goes on along that she was stealing the bike. Now, everybody jumped on this and said this woman's obviously in the wrong. Rashad Richey came out here, absolutely blasted this woman for being a Karen. And is now backtracking a little bit because, you know, the woman lawyered up. She's providing receipts. And now it doesn't look like she's so much in the wrong. Now, I don't know the exact context around this situation. I would say at best, it's a misunderstanding. And at middle ground, it's probably gatekeeping. At worst, it's theft. But I don't know the exact context of this. So I'm going to leave it up to that. I don't want to speculate, lean to any certain side. However, it's really interesting because now this woman is lawyered up. The Young Turks are very worried about being sued because Rashad Richey came out here with unfounded claims, and now he has to backtrack because there's no receipts for the other side. Or there are, but actually the receipts kind of prove the other way around. And I can't tell if it's Anna Kasparian here being more based, as about a month ago she came out and said, "I don't want to be called a cis woman, I just want to be called a woman." And she got a lot of backlash for that. You know, people called her a TERF and all that. Because, you know, that's way too based for the left. But now she's coming out here and, you know, pretty much, you know, in defense of this person. And they're both on the Young Turks' neck where it's kind of imploding. So I want to play this clip from her, and I'm going to play another clip that just came out from Rashad Richey's show, Indisputable. Pretty much showing how they have not learned anything. And about how the rules change. The rules are exactly the same. We'll get to that in a sec.
And it fails to ensure that people of color have equal opportunities to wealthier white people. We've been conditioned to think that generalizations about entire groups of people is somehow okay, as if it doesn't contradict the fight against racism. We've taken the bait in this extremely successful divide and conquer strategy. And to be honest, I've been struck by how effortlessly callous the online discourse has become. Any out of context viral video that features a conflict with a white woman is automatically considered evidence of a racist act, even before we have all the details. The latest example involved a pregnant hospital worker named Sarah Comrie in New York. She was captured on video during an argument she had with a black man over a city bike in Manhattan.
See, I want you to leave a comment down in the comment section. Do you think she's actually being woken up? She's becoming a little more based? Or do you think this is all just gaslighting because the Young Turks are worried about being sued? Anyway, she's definitely directing this segment at Rashad Richey, who definitely came out the gate way too strong and way too fast without having all the facts in place. But as we're going to see later on by a clip I'm going to play from his segment, even though it's not him, they haven't really learned anything. You know, the rules change based on color of people's skin.
The man claimed that he paid for the bike rental, but Comrie disagreed.
No, record him.
Help! Help me! Please help me!
This is not your bike.
Please help me!
This is not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
What's going on?
The dominant online narrative was that this racist pregnant woman tried to steal a bike from a black man and then made herself out to be a victim with her white tears. Her attorney
a narrative that also Euro Network ran with. Just gonna put that out there. And also, I don't think Anna Kasparian's any sort of hero here. Anna Kasparian has done a lot to pretty much propagate racial division that's gone on in this country. She has, she's no champion of this, but it does seem like she's getting a little more based, or she's reached her limit, or, she's just running interference for the Young Turks. So hopefully they don't get sued because, like I said, the city bike Karen, quote unquote, Mrs. Sarah Jane Comrie, has lawyered up. So, they got to be a little worried about that. This could cost her job. This could cost a lot of people their jobs, depending on if the lawsuit goes through or not. But there is risk of it right now. So.
Attorney later provided receipts claiming that she, in fact, paid for the bike. But it felt like no one thought it might be a good idea to just wait and see what the truth was before attacking her. Her employer at Bellevue Hospital was immediately contacted. She was placed on leave pending an investigation. Now her attorney is looking to potentially sue media outlets that propagated false allegations about his client. But we still don't know the full story. And it's better to wait and see how this develops before people try to destroy a stranger's life and livelihood. So
it definitely should be. I agree with Anna on this, which I'm very surprised to actually say. I never thought I'd agree with something on the Young Turks network because they are the wokety woke of the wokest, but facts. You should definitely try to wait for all the facts to come out before you report on anything. And we've seen receipts from Mrs. Comrie's side, and we saw receipts actually from a sister, the sister of one of the young men in the video. But it pretty much just kind of reinforced this narrative that, yes, he actually didn't have access to the bike. He was just kind of pressing on the handlebars and saying, no, I'm going to eventually ride this bike again. But if it's in the docking station, that means anyone can rent it. You can't just hold it there. That's absolutely ridiculous. But I want you to keep that in mind for how Rashad Ritchie responded to that, to the video I'm about to play you. Because I don't really understand what the difference is, but I'm not going to say the quiet part out loud either. Here, take a look.
Feel like that?
All right, so for a little bit of context here, if you don't know what's going on, this woman has stuck her feet down into a public parking spot. Looks like it's on the side of the road or something like that. And she's claiming a public parking spot with her feet. Now, obviously, in this situation, I'm going to say this woman's in the wrong. You can't just stand in a parking spot like that and claim it until your car comes along. That's absolutely ridiculous. But I want you to keep in mind that in the same vein, this teenager from the whole city bike Karen quote unquote incident was totally allowed to put his hands on the handlebar of the bike while it's in a docking station and claim it. What is the difference here? These are both public spaces. Rashad Ritchie's show, the Young Turk Network, criticizes one and says the other is completely righteous. What's the difference exactly? I agree with that. This woman should not be saving a parking spot by standing in it. But in the same vein, somebody who is putting their hands on the handlebars of a bike that's a free rental bike or paid for rental bike cannot reserve the bike unless it's signed out onto their account. But watch the difference in how they report this. Fascinating. It's absolutely nuts.
We were talking in the break and she is beet red. Okay, we're gonna get into the content. But all I kept thinking about was, crab. Okay, because this woman's skin is being destroyed here. And I think it would have been even kinder.
She's been talking for 10 seconds. She's already brought up this woman's skin color. And these people are begging to be sued. They really are.
Very kind to hand her some sunscreen through the window if she'd take it. Maybe some people don't want to do it because she's headed to the beach that day. But Jordan, I'll let you weigh in because my policy is I don't generally argue with Karens. I'm not going to sit here and have a conversation. He was so patient. He was so calm.
Oh, and then she's going to throw around the word Karen again. Listen, I'm not going to go any further with this. I think you get what I mean. This isn't like years later. It's not months later. This whole quote unquote city bike Karen between the group of 5 teenagers and Sarah Jane Comrie happened a week ago. They demonized her for trying to take a bike that was in the docking station that nobody had rented out because somebody's hands were on the handlebars of it. And I would say, if it's not signed out in your name, you have no ownership of the bike. They disagree with that. Rashad Ritchie came out here and blasted it, said, well, no, you're wrong. You're completely wrong. You're trying to steal the bike from these teenagers. But for some reason in this situation, when the reverse happens, where a woman has her feet planted in a parking spot, which I would also agree is completely ridiculous, well, that's bad. What's the difference? Well, I know the difference, and you know the difference. I'm not going to say the quiet part out loud. More astounding than any of this is how this network is still going. It's full of hate. It's full of vitriol. It's full of contradictions. It's full of hypocrisy. You know, I got to say, I hope Miss Sarah Jane Comrie does sue this network into oblivion. I really do. Because all they're doing, they're peddling division, they're peddling hate. And if you're going to do it, at least stay consistent. You know, at least, you know, the rule should apply to everybody equally. If the young man was wrong for holding the handlebars of the bike, then this woman is wrong for her feet being in the parking spot. But somehow it's different. I just don't understand how. Well, I do, but I can't say that part out loud. Anyway, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I will be back with more later today. I really appreciate you listening to the song, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.